All right, we are now into lesson 3 of chapter 19. Still working with some basic statistics. This is mostly about showing you how to deal with grouped frequency within a data table, mainly to take advantage of your calculator, but I always like to show you how to do things by hand as well. Once in a while you run into a case where they want you to fill in a blank to a table or something like that. So I do want you to be familiar with it. It also just gives you a little depth of understanding as to what your calculator is actually doing for you when you use it for things like this. So take a look. If we had given this table right here, and if you printed out the blank notes, right, you just see what's the dark numbers here and here are what's been given to us within this table. And so if you look at this table, how do we work with it in order to get an average or a mean? And so you actually have this formula within your formula packet. So I'm kind of basing the end results of this table off of this formula right here. And so here's what we have. Within my first class, so my first class goes from 0 to 99, and I have 11 items from 0 to 99. I have 12 items between 100 and 199. I have 14 items in here, 1 item in here, and 2 items in here. The thing is we don't know what those items are. I don't know what these 11 numbers are. I just know they're between 0 and 99. So if I'm going to do this in a calculator or even with a formula, what numbers do I use for my x's, my list of data? I don't know what those data numbers are. I just know I have 11 pieces of data somewhere in this range. So the best that we can deal with that is to simply use what we call the mid-interval. So which is like saying the midpoint. So if I did 0 plus 99 divided by 2, I get the mid-interval, which is 49.5. So we just assume that all 11 pieces of data are smack dab in the middle, and they're all 49.5. So we're saying, okay, I got 11 items that are 49.5. I got 12 items that are the middle of this class. So if I did 100 plus 199 divided by 2, I get the mid-interval, which is 149.5. So we're going to assume that all 12 pieces of data are 149.5. Same thing here. I'm going to assume all 14 pieces of these data are 249.5. The one piece of data in this class, again, is at the mid-interval, which is 349.5. And then 2 items that are 449.5. So this is our list of data. These are the X values, the list 1 data values that we have. So this is my list of data, and this is my frequency list. This is how many of those I have. We're going to be using the calculator at this point, but let me just finish it off with the table and the formula that you are given, just in case we need it down the road. This formula says I take the sum of my data and divide it by the sum of my frequencies. So this is just like finding the average. You add up all your data and divide it by the number of terms, right? Just like you would always find an average. So the sum of all my data is going to come from this column right here. So remember, I have 11 of those, plus I have 12 of those, plus 14 of those, plus 1 of those, plus 2 of those. And so that's what this little column is helping us with. So I had 11 49.5s. I had 12 times 149.5. I have 14 times 249.5, so on and so on. So this is F times X. My frequencies times my X's give me those numbers. And if I add them all up, this is the sum of all of my data. So the sum of Fx is this guy right here, and we always divide that by the number of terms. So if I add up all my frequencies, the sum of my frequencies is how many terms we have. So the 40 is going to go right here on bottom. So if you look over here to the right, I set all that up for you. So that would be the setup. So my average is 177. If we were going to use this on the calculator, so first of all, notice that this is exactly what we were working with in the very first lesson of this chapter. So if you go back to your lesson 1 notes, this is what we were doing. We were working with grouped data. So we had frequencies and we had classes. And so that's kind of what this is stemming from. So if we go to our calculator, so I'm going to be going back to my lists of data. Let me see if I can split screen this for you and show you it at the same time. So if you can see what's going on right here in my calculator, let me turn it on. Again, I'm going to go to Stat, and then I'm going to choose Edit to bring up my list. So here's what I did, and I'm going to make this bigger, so let me show you where it's coming from. Here's list 1. These are my X's, so I put all these into list 1. I made list 2 my frequency list, and that's where they're all going right here into my calculator. So again, I put list 1 as my X's, list 2 are my frequency lists, and then again, if I go to Stat, go over to Calc, and I'm still choosing my 1 variable stats. These are all 1 variables, just X's. So I got my 1 variable stats. I put my list into list 1. My frequency list was list 2. So I got to go right down to here where it says L2. So I'm going to hit second L2 so that I can tell my calculator that I put my frequency list under list 2. Hit enter, enter, and there you go. I get all the same information. My average is 177. Here was the sum of all of my data. I had 40 terms. I can still get certain things out of this, like the minimum. I can get the median as 149.5. The biggest point was 449.5. So all that good stuff I can still get out of that little table right there. So that's the way we can deal with those within our table. The key on that, and this is what you got to remember moving forward, is that we use the mid-interval for the X's. That's our list of data, is the mid-intervals, and then this was our frequency list that we use under list 2. So that's all that. Last side note, there are 2 symbols that you're going to run into in dealing with a mean. One is called mu, and that looks like the letter U. And that's just simply when you're dealing with a population. They use this for the sample mean. All I need you to understand is that these both represent the mean. And so it doesn't matter if you see this guy instead of this guy. They both represent the mean. So I don't want you to be thrown by that.